Hey guys, today on Too Many Hobbies, we're going to be smoking some ribs. I like to use 100% lump mesquite charcoal. I get this stuff from Smart & Final for about, I don't know, 16 bucks a bag. Put it here in this chimney, ball up some paper towels, put a tablespoon of vegetable oil on it and light it up. Works great. Get them coals nice and ready. Now what I've got here is some baby back ribs. I don't really trim them too much. I like to leave the fat on there. It keeps them nice and juicy. But I will take off the little silver skin that's underneath the bottom of the ribs, a little membrane. You can peel it right off. And then I like to season it with just salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic. You can put brown sugar, honey, cayenne pepper, chili powder, a rib rub, all that stuff all over it. But I think it takes away from the flavor of the actual pork. So I just salt and pepper it. Now when your chimney's nice and ready and hot, go ahead and dump it on into your firebox here. Careful, some of those things will fall out onto the floor. That's why I like to use welder's gloves. Pick them right up off the concrete, throw them back in there. Ah, it smells so good. That mesquite burns nice and slow. Burns long, can burn really hot if you give it enough air, or you can stifle it a bit, keep it right around 250 degrees, perfect for smokers. Now I like to brush off the grill a little bit. I always clean it after I cook, but before I cook I like to get those ashes off of there so you don't get any of those on your ribs. This is a brand new smoker for me. I've only used it once, so I'm just testing it out. I thought, why not? Make some ribs with some applewood chips. Take a handful of those. Once your grill gets nice and hot, throw them right onto that fire. Then close them up. Put your ribs in. Let it smoke. Now you're going to want to smoke your ribs for about an hour. Keep it around 225 to about 275 degrees. I like to keep mine about, what's this say? 235 or so, give or take whatever that notch means. Let it go for about an hour or so. You'll see the smoke start to die off. Once that happens, you can go ahead and open her up, throw in another handful or two, just like this. Now the applewood chips work great. They're kind of a sweeter wood, but you don't want to put too much smoke onto your meat. It's going to make it bitter. I mean, you got to remember, using the mesquite charcoal, it's going to add some smoke flavor as well. Again, about 2 hours worth of heavy smoke. After this, I don't really add any more chips. I think it's plenty. Just let it cook. Don't bother opening up that big drum unless you have to take a peek. So it's been about 3 hours. This is what they're looking like. I'm going to make a little sauce here I call a mop sauce. It's made up of 1 part barbecue sauce, 1 part stock. Now it's beef stock or chicken stock. You can use whatever. I like to rub that onto the ribs about once every 40 minutes or so. And after the ribs have been in there for about 3 to 4 hours, I like to take them off, put them on some foil here, wrap them up, stick them back in there. But before I do, I'll finish them off with some of that sauce. Again, that's 1 part barbecue sauce to 1 part chicken stock. Now I've used all sorts of things instead of stock. I've used like Dr. Pepper, root beer, beer, but the stock seems to work just fine. It doesn't really make the flavor any different. It'll taste just like the barbecue sauce once it all melts onto there. So wrap her up nice and tight. That's going to let it steam in there. Go ahead and get some more foil and do it to the next rack. And you can do this with barbecue pulled pork as well. So if you get a pork butt or a pork shoulder, you can do the same technique. Rub it down, salt and pepper, throw it in some foil, use this mop sauce. You'll need a lot more. You'll have a heck of a lot more meat. So this one, look at that little cup. I just used the whole thing. Covered 2 ribs just fine. Basting it about every 40 minutes for the last 3 or 4 hours. Simple, easy, no mess. Finish all the whole thing. Cover this one up, throw it back in the grill just like the other one. Sometimes the bones will poke through the foil there, but that's alright, not a big deal. It'll still steam up. Now once I put those back in there, I tend to the fire a little bit. I like to raise the temperature up another 50 degrees or so. So I'll just toss on some more charcoal, give it some time to breathe for a little bit. Crackles away nice. I love the way this stuff sounds when it's getting nice and hot. It's popping and crackling along. Again, use these welding gloves. They're like 10 bucks a pair at like Home Depot. They work great. You can tend your fire really well. You're not burning yourself. You can kind of move stuff around and get it nice and ready. Get it set. You do it too long, you'll definitely burn through that leather, but it's better than your hand. Ah, listen to that crackle. Sounds good. Smells good too. This stuff will wake up the whole neighborhood. My neighbors always know when I'm grilling. Cover that up, let it sit for about 2 more hours or so. Now total cook time on these 2 little baby backs here was about 4.5, 5 hours for this. They're pretty small, so they didn't take much time. It's only 2 racks. If you're doing more, you can give it a little more time. Look at that. Delicious. Nice and tender, juicy. Now I did not cook this to where it's falling and peeling right off the bone. I think it's a little too much. It's hard to serve that way. Unless you're eating the whole rack yourself, then who cares? But when you're trying to cut it up and give it to your family, it's kind of hard. So one of my techniques is to get it off the grill a little bit early, flip it upside down and give it a cut just like this. Look at that. It's tender, it's moist, it will peel right off the bone once you bite into it, but it's not going to fall off. And you can cook it a little longer if you like. Go another hour or 2 and they'll fall right off the bone. But I think this is just perfect for serving other people. Listen to that. You can hear how moist it is. Get yourself a nice little bowl. Plop them on in there so you can serve them up at dinner. Go ahead and do the same thing to the other one. Now this one's a little thicker, a little closer to the fire on the end there. And sometimes I like to pour the little juices back over it, but I don't think it makes a difference. I think it does only if you're doing pulled pork. Once you shred your pork up and you have it in a bowl, I like to pour all those juices back on top of it and kind of mix it in there. It keeps it nice and moist. Again, flip it upside down, give it a nice cut. And I do this so I can see where the bones are. Ooh, little piece of dad tax right there. And cut these up. Get a nice knife, a nice sharp knife. It cuts easy, but this stuff's peeling off a little bit, so it makes it a little hard. But when you have it upside down, you can see your bones nice. You're not ruining your knife. You can just cut right through the meat. Makes it simple. Listen to that. It's moist, juicy, delicious. Plenty of smoke flavor, but not too much where it's not bitter. And a hint of that barbecue sauce on there. But you get a lot of that pork flavor coming through, and it just tastes so good. I think some people just overdo their ribs sometimes. Too much sauce. Look at that. Perfect amount. Sometimes it's just nothing but rub when you bite into some ribs. You get a mouthful of caramelized sugar and cayenne pepper. And when you're done with the tray, there's always somebody willing to clean it up for you. Good job, Ava. She's my great little dishwasher. And once the kids are done, you can throw the dog a bone. She loves these things more than I do. Well, maybe not. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.